students, and more. The Center for International Studies and Programs is
Okay, everybody. So we do have Dr. Bradford Owen in here with us. He's going to go ahead and go over the virtual classroom etiquette. So Dr. Owen, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Will I have control over the PowerPoint? How should we do this?
Go ahead and say on the next slide, and the one that is actually doing the PowerPoint, we'll move it on as soon as you go ahead and say next slide.
Okay, very good. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for listening to my brief presentation. I am the Chief Academic Technology Officer. I'm the Interim Director of the Department of Academic Technologies and Innovation, which is the department on campus that supports your faculty in preparing their courses to present to you with academic technologies. And of course, now that we're entirely online, this is a very important function to help faculty get their courses to you and to promote the pedagogical principles that will help you have an effective online experience. So today, I'll be talking about something that applies to you rather than to the faculty, or not only to the faculty. And this is virtual classroom etiquette, sometimes abbreviated as netiquette. And what does this mean? Well, it just means the way that we behave online, particularly in our written communication online, in ways that are respectful towards our fellow students and effective in getting across what we intend to communicate. Next, please. So this is, of course, especially important in the virtual environment because except for those times when we are in a synchronous contact, in other words, like right now, when we are in a live Zoom session, which your instructors may use as well, a lot of times the communication in a course is asynchronous. It happens at different times for everybody, and it's frequently in the form of written communication. So instructors use this kind of form of communication and assignments in different ways via discussion forums and social media posts, as well as conventional assignments like essays, exams, and quizzes. So it's important to think about good communication principles because there's so much communication that happens in our virtual courses. Next, please. Another aspect of this is that increasingly today, of course, you're probably aware, your future employers will expect employees to have good digital media literacy and also to have good communication skills. And part of both of these is knowing how to communicate respectfully and effectively in writing online. So this is a great chance to practice and develop these skills in your courses at CSUSB. Next, please. So for the next few slides, I'm going to go over a number of suggestions in how to cultivate and practice netiquette. And these will apply to all the written communication in your course, including conventional assignments like papers, quizzes, tests, and other such assignments. These ideas apply to email, to your instructor, and to fellow faculty, to fellow students. They apply to discussion board posts, and they apply to course-related social media posts. For instance, if your professor uses Slack or other social media apps for the course. Next, please. So now to begin the actual suggestions for practicing good etiquette. Generally, we recommend that you be professional, clear, and respectful. And this idea of respect is one that I'll hit again and again as we go through this. When you sit down to compose a written communication that's related to your course, consider what you are trying to do with it and who your audience is. So your purpose, of course, is to make a helpful, constructive, and informed contribution to the course. So I touch on this idea of a little bit elevated communication, of a bit more formality in communication than we practice in other more informal contexts, especially in social media like Instagram or by text message. And consider your audience. Part of your audience is your instructor, of course, and you, of course, want to be respectful always toward your instructor, but also respectful to the other component of your audience, which is your fellow students. So yeah, this idea of respect is so very important. One way to think about this is to use the same principles of behavior that you would use in a face-to-face classroom. So how would you address your instructor if you spoke up in class in a in-class meeting? How would you address fellow students if you were all together in a room? And I hope it would be in a respectful, considerate way. So part of this being professional in written communication online is to use the rules of more formal written communication, more so than we use in our typical daily informal social media communication. For example, we want to avoid informal substitutions or acronyms for words such as UR for your, Y-O-U-R, and avoiding these kinds of abbreviated phrases like laughing out loud, LOL, or F2F, face-to-face, and so on. So in all your communication, including social media communication and email, you want to use standard written, relatively formal English, though not like as if you were writing a formal academic paper, but formal enough so that you're using complete words, complete sentences in a respectful way. Next, please. One thing to avoid, which is sometimes a temptation when we feel strongly, when we have a strong reaction to something someone has posted or written, is to avoid flaming the other person. And this is an example, of course, of a kind of formatting to communicate flaming, all caps and in bold and the exclamation point. So we certainly want to avoid this kind of very charged, emotional written communication. This is the equivalent in writing of yelling at your peers, your instructor. We just want to refrain from this always. And it's a good idea, whatever kind of communication it is, whether an email, social media post, discussion board post, quiz, exam, or paper, always to look over what you've written and think twice, and just make sure that what you're about to send is respectful and written in a way that communicates your intention. Next, please. Turning now to discussion forums in particular. When you read others' posts, certainly take the time to read them carefully and think about what their intent is. Because as we've been saying, sometimes writing, what comes across in writing, in the absence of other cues like facial expressions, gestures, tone of voice, all those other nonverbal communication cues are missing, and all we have are the words. And sometimes the words don't really get across what the person is intending. So think about that possibility when you read what someone wrote. Maybe they didn't intend what the words are suggesting to you. Maybe they didn't write a skillful communication themselves. So in this way, we want to practice forbearance, which means refraining from a hostile or an aggressive reaction. Be patient with your peers rather than confrontational. Next, please. On your own post to a discussion forum, go to the trouble of doing research about what you're posting about. Look into the facts of the topic, and if appropriate, provide citations of the source of your information. And this will help add credibility to your post and also generally raise the overall level of the discourse in the discussion forum, which is a good thing in an academic course. Next, please. If you have the option, if the instructor has created the possibility, it may be good to record an audio post, which would be your voice only, and post that to the forum, or a video and audio post together. And in that way, naturally, that adds this extra layer of cues and nonverbal communication, which helps your audience, your fellow students, and your instructor have a greater range of communication than just the written words alone. So in that way, it can contribute to communicating your intent and may provide a more rich communication. Next, please. Returning now to this theme of patience and cooperation, remember that all of us, all of the students in the course are students, and they're there to learn, and they may make mistakes. Again, this idea of forbearance, of refraining from being overly reactive, of being confrontational. Keep in mind the possibility that your peers may make mistakes in their communication, in their content of what they write. And in terms of keeping the discourse civil and respectful, always address the content of what is in the communication. So the idea or the concept, don't address the person. So for example, if you would write to someone, you always write this kind of thing, and I'm really tired of it. That would not be addressing the content. That would be addressing and attacking the person. So write a civil and respectful counter argument, if you wish, to the content while remaining respectful. And keep an open mind that people have different points of view from you. And in an academic environment, the idea is that we are free to express our ideas as long as they're expressed respectfully, even if there's disagreement about the merit or the validity of those ideas. So again, tolerance of ideas different than your own. Next, please. if a situation arises, say on a discussion forum or in a social media thread, it's best to back off, to back away from the conflict rather than to take the bait, uh, rather than to confront what you may perceive as an offensive post or even an attack on you personally. It's best not to escalate that. Just back away. If you feel frustrated or angry by something your peer has posted, just walk away from it and don't even reply until you feel able to respond in a respectful way. And of course, if there is a content which you perceive as offensive or inappropriate, contact your instructor immediately rather than rather than replying that way to the poster. Let the instructor know about this. It's the instructor's job to deal with offensive posts and speech in the course. Touching again on intention. Bring to what you write and post the intention to inform your peers and to inspire your peers, rather than embracing more negative motivations like to offend, to get even or settle a score, or to reveal personal information about one of your peers. We should always avoid revealing any kind of personal information that we may have about fellow students. For instance, if you have formed some kind of relationship with them in a group in the class and you know them, you should never share that information in a post or communication. And also be careful about what information you share about yourself online, even to your fellow students. And again, returning to the formality of discourse, you should avoid slang, jargon, and sarcasm, because these may confuse your audience and help and contribute to a lack of clarity in your communication. Sarcasm particularly may be subject to misinterpretation when it comes in writing alone. And anyway, sarcasm is not really appropriate for discourse in an academic course. Next. This acronym may be helpful when you are getting ready to communicate in writing online. Is what you are about to write true? Is it helpful? Does it elevate the discourse in the course rather than lower it? Is it contributing to knowledge of your peers? Is it inspiring? This goes to the affective, the emotional impact of what you're about to write. Again, does it help raise the spirit, the emotional tenor of the course, or does it rather lower it through negative strategies like attacks, getting even, personal vendettas, and so on? Is it necessary? This may apply especially when you are having a kind of discussion or debate about a topic about which there may be disagreement. Is what you're about to write necessary to address the content of what someone has written, rather than, for example, a personal attack, as we mentioned on the previous slide? Is a personal attack necessary? Never. Is a contrasting idea in a debate necessary? Yes, that could be necessary in a discussion of an issue or topic. And K, is it kind? Again, touching on the positive affect the positive experience of the course that we all need to try to build together, instructor and students alike. And next, please. Lastly, I would like to tell you about a course which has just recently been posted to your Blackboard site. It's gone on to the Blackboard sites of almost 16,000 undergraduate students, including yours. And this is a course to help you learn about and implement best practices and skills to help you succeed in the online environment in virtual courses. So you can find this course if you go to your Blackboard homepage and click on courses and then search for distance. And then the course will come up. And then I suggest that you mark the course as a favorite with the star, which is in the lower right of the course tile. And that way you can always find it. It will always be on your homepage. This course takes about 5 hours to complete. It's not for credit. It won't affect your grade point average or your course completions or progress towards your degree or anything. In that sense, it is just a course to help you. There's no penalty for not completing it. And the course is asynchronous. It's entirely online with no face-to-face meetings or anything like that. And you can complete it at your own speed, at your convenience. That concludes my presentation. Jesse, are we taking questions from the viewers?
Yes, if anybody has any questions for Dr. Owen before he goes, it'd be the time to ask now.